TLO, what's poppin'? We are on Twitch, not live, but this is, you can leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notification bells. Let's continue to grow the family from Chicago to the UK. Right behind me, you see it. Little warning screen, just in case. Can't catch a live stream on Patreon, or, I mean, not Patreon, I'm bugging. On Twitch, usernames at the bottom of the screen. And we also have Patreon Monday through Sunday. Premier League highlights, UK TV shows, UK movies. He trusted her. She plotted his death. The murder of Thomas Campbell. UK true crime. Listen, never trust nobody. There's always a potential backdoor.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
They were a couple who seemed to have it all.
Oh, it's in Manchester, too?
Children, lavish holidays.
Hold on, they had kids?
Expensive jewelry, designer clothes, and a lifestyle many could only dream of. But behind the glamour and wealth, darkness.
Enough is never enough. They had everything. Money, marriage, cars.
Brood.
And she plotted his death. Money is never enough is never enough. I feel like a woman always gonna want more. Golly. Okay.
What could drive someone to trade a life of luxury for a chilling betrayal? What twisted motive led a woman to orchestrate the brutal 2-hour torture and murder of the man she once called
2-hour torture?
Her husband?
Did he cheat?
In 2008, Thomas Campbell was working a steady full-time job, but stability wasn't enough. He wanted more. Without warning, he quit, walking away from the daily grind and turning instead to government benefits. Alongside him was his wife, Colleen.
Okay, let's break this down. Bro had a 9 to 5, but that wasn't enough, so he settled for less.
Who, despite also claiming income support, quietly continued working 16 hours a week at a local clothing store. On paper, their lifestyle should have been modest, but in reality...
Okay, so she was collecting benefits and still working a little job.
It was anything but. The couple flaunted a fleet of brand new high-performance cars.
Benefits fraud. Okay. He was trapping. He was getting that money somehow.
All with personalized number plates, an Audi A3, a Mercedes C63, a BMW X5. They lived like they had nothing to hide. Their holidays were just as extravagant. Luxury 10-night getaways to Cancun, Mexico, worth over £10,000. Other lavish escapes took them to Bulgaria and Gran Canaria. Their wardrobes told the same story. Designer clothes, high-end jewelry, and expensive tastes that far exceeded their declared income. This lavish lifestyle carried on for nearly 5 years, unchecked, unbothered, and seemingly unstoppable. But in
See what I'm saying? They had the world underneath their fingertips. Somebody got greedy. Obviously, she got greedy.
2014, the facade began to crumble.
Oh, okay.
Greater Manchester Police launched Operation Harness, a major investigation targeting the Campbells and their suspected involvement in cocaine supply across the Clayton area of Manchester. As the investigation intensified, the pressure mounted. Something shifted. Thomas began to feel it, that creeping sensation of being watched. He knew the game was up. In a last-ditch effort to throw off suspicion, the gym-going, heavily built Campbell suddenly rebranded himself, officially declaring he was a self-employed fitness instructor. But it was too little, too late.
He tried it.
GMP's Operation Challenger had already connected the dots. Behind the gym routines and Instagram
I ain't gonna lie, once they on you, they already got you. It's too late. You can do whatever you want. They already there.
worthy lifestyle, Thomas was part of a much bigger network, one deeply embedded in the supply and distribution of cocaine. Then came the raid. The illusion shattered. The Campbell household, once the image of flashy success, became the latest target in a sweeping crackdown on Manchester's drug trade.
You gotta stay low key. Whips in the garage, like they was doing a lot.
In 2019, the law finally caught up with the Campbells. Thomas Campbell was sentenced to 2 years in prison after pleading guilty to money laundering. His wife, Colleen, also admitted to the same charge and received a 16-month sentence.
Not bad.
By 2021, both were out of prison, but their once glamorous life was long gone.
Who had the kids?
The cracks that had formed over the years had split wide open. Colleen had discovered the ultimate betrayal. Thomas had been sleeping with one of her close friends.
And I guarantee you the reason her friends started sleeping with her, she was sharing, they was talking about the bedroom together. Never talk to your friends about what go on in the bedroom about your man or your girl, because they're going to want to experience it. If you build it up to be great, don't do it.
Furious and humiliated, she confronted him. What followed was explosive. A bitter, messy argument that marked the end of their relationship. Years of luxury, lies, and loyalty dissolved in a single moment. The couple who once flaunted their wealth to the world went their separate ways. But the story was far from over. In fact, the darkest chapter was still to come.
Wait, hold on, wait. Best thing this man did was shag my baggy mate 12 months ago.
In a twisted turn of events, Colleen Campbell found herself aligning with an unlikely accomplice. John Belfield, the ex-boyfriend of the same woman Thomas had been having an affair with. Both betrayed, both seething, and both hungry for revenge. When Belfield learned of the affair, his fury matched Colleen's. Their shared hatred for Thomas brought them together, and within days, what began as an exchange of messages on Instagram,
they shouldn't even have did nothing. If I'm being honest, the only revenge that they could have seek was to just start messing with each other. They ain't had to go catch no bodies. They could have just left it at that. Like, all right, they creeping, let's get us in real quick, and then we even.
Quickly escalated into a sinister alliance. The plan was chilling. A carefully orchestrated ambush to rob Thomas of cash, drugs, and anything of value. But it was never just about money. This was personal. This was payback. Colleen, once Thomas's wife, became a key player in the plot. She handed over crucial information. His routines, his whereabouts.
And you know what? It's even more wicked because I understand he cheated. He did something bogus that he shouldn't have did, but it's still the father of your children. So to set him up, get him backdoor robbed, you know what I'm saying? That's whatever he had. It would have been, if it would have been a successful robbery where nobody got murdered, you just took food out your kid's mouth. You know what I'm saying? You just put him on a war path. You know what I'm saying? You put his whole life in jeopardy, and how you going to explain this to your kids at the end of the day?
Exact times and places they could find him, down to the minute. With that, Belfield began assembling his crew. He brought in Stephen Cleworth and Reese Stephen, each with a role to play. Cleworth was given a particularly invasive task. He was sent to Thomas's daughter's school. As Thomas picked up his child, Cleworth discreetly placed a GPS tracker on his van, a move that would ultimately lead the gang straight to his front door. The trap had been set. The countdown to murder had begun. While the plot to ambush Thomas Campbell was...
Just imagine this girl. Yeah, this is what time he picks up our daughter. Are you stupid? Are you delusional? You're that enraged?
Colleen Campbell was already knee-deep in violence elsewhere. Fueled by anger and loyalty to a friend, she led a brutal attack on a woman accused of sleeping with her friend's boyfriend. A conflict that wasn't even hers to begin with.
Yeah, she had pent-up aggression
didn't stop her. Alongside 3 associates, including 2 other women, Colleen pulled up in a car, ready for war. CCTV footage captured the group as they exited the vehicle, each armed with a weapon. Colleen, with chilling confidence, clutched a hammer. What followed was a 90-second frenzy of violence. The victim was ambushed, struck, and overwhelmed in a savage group assault. It was only when bystanders intervened, horrified by what they were witnessing, that the attackers were forced to back off and flee the scene. It was a shocking show of aggression, revealing just how volatile and dangerous Colleen had become. A warning sign of the violence that was still to come.
Colleen was off the rails. Sent her to the goulash. This sent her mind to the... She became a savage when this happened. Didn't care about her kids,
the plan
nothing.
Was now in motion. After days of surveillance, watching Thomas's movements and tracking his every step, the crew John Belfield had assembled was ready to strike. They had observed him, studied his habits, and waited for the perfect moment.
Highlighted in red, John Belfield.
As Thomas unlocked the door to his own home, unaware of the danger just feet away, the attackers crept up and ambushed him. He was dragged inside and subjected to a prolonged 2-hour ordeal of unimaginable cruelty. They stabbed him, they punched him, they stomped on him with brutal force. Then, stripping him of all his clothing except his socks, they turned him face down and poured scalding hot kettle water onto his bare skin, specifically onto his buttocks. It was a savage and degrading act.
See this, man, when I lived in Iraq, this is why I ain't go nowhere without the fire on me, without the pipe. Plus, I'm too aware of my surroundings. I've never walked with headphones on, never was on the phone, never had nothing in my hands because I was always ready, never needed to get ready. You're not going to be able to do that type of stuff to me. I'm too aware of my surroundings. Look how close they was to him. Hold on. Look at that. Look how close they are. He has to have on headphones to not hear them.
Face down and poured scalding. It was a savage and degrading act. By the time the attackers fled the scene, Thomas Campbell was barely clinging to life. Left alone in the hallway of his own home, he succumbed to a staggering 61 injuries. The next morning, his lifeless body was discovered by neighbors. The scene they walked into was one of horror.
Ambulance emergency, tell me exactly what's happened.
Hi, sorry, I'm a bit in shock. There's a guy's body lying here. There's loads of kids living on the street. I really don't want them to see any of this.
Ring me.
Despite playing a key role in the brutal murder of Thomas Campbell, Colleen Campbell took to social media to play the grieving widow,
playing
a
it
chilling
off.
act of deception. She posted heartfelt tributes, including one that read, 13 years and 2 beautiful children. Forever grateful. I would do anything to hear your giddy laugh or your non-stop moaning just one more time.
And that's why she deserved a life sentence, because it's too much. You're doing too much.
She flooded her accounts with similar messages, crafting an image of heartbreak and loss. All the while, she worked behind the scenes, helping to organize Thomas's memorial and even attending, standing side by side with his mourning family, feigning sorrow while concealing her guilt. But the truth was closing in. Within just 2 weeks of the murder, Greater Manchester Police had already tracked down their first suspect, Stephen Cleworth. He was arrested and charged with conspiracy to murder 38-year-old Thomas Campbell.
Life sentence.
The ringleader, John Belfield, fled the country, and police initially believed he had escaped to the Spanish island of Tenerife. But the manhunt stretched far wider. On March 23, 2023, Belfield was found hiding in Suriname, where local authorities arrested him and began preparing him for extradition.
How he get arrested there?
Reese Stephen was also swept up in the investigation. Although he wasn't present during the murder, confirmed to be intoxicated at a swingers club during the attack, he had played a crucial role in the lead-up and planning. For his involvement, he was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 12 years.
So 12
Belfield
years.
once returned to the UK.
What was his role,
was arrested at Manchester
What was his role?
Airport and charged. He pleaded not guilty and is currently remanded in custody, awaiting trial on June 3rd, 2025. Police confirm that one suspect remains at large. As for Colleen, she initially slipped through the cracks. She cried with Thomas's family, told them she still loved him, embraced them in shared grief, all while knowing the truth. But then, in a bizarre and damning twist, she revealed her hand. Speaking with Thomas's mother, Colleen shared gruesome, specific details about the murder, details that had not yet been made public. When questioned about how she knew, she claimed Thomas had visited her from beyond the grave, and that a spiritual friend had passed the information on from his ghost. It was the final straw. Thomas's mother went straight to the police. The act was up. Colleen's
Why did she feel like she can just give that information to her mom?
Mask had finally slipped, and justice was closing in. She was arrested and brought to trial, facing the most serious charge of all, murder. But after a lengthy courtroom battle, the jury found her not guilty of murder, instead convicting her of manslaughter.
Manslaughter, okay.
Despite her attempts to downplay her role, the police investigation revealed just how deeply involved she had been. It became clear that she was a key architect of the plan that led to her ex-husband's brutal death. Investigators discovered...
They probably thought like, oh yeah, they was just supposed to rob him type.
She had full knowledge of the GPS tracker placed on Thomas's van, a device that led the killers directly to him. It was believed she had also been the one to reveal which school he picked up his daughter from. A damning detail that
That's crazy in itself.
only someone close to him would know. Police seized CCTV footage from her home that sealed her fate. It showed Colleen on the phone with John Belfield discussing the plan. They were seen meeting in person too, talking for over 30 minutes. The attack was carefully plotted. When questioned, Colleen claimed she never intended for Thomas to die, insisting the plan was simply to steal 2 Rolex watches. But those watches were never found, and her explanation did little to soften the gravity of her involvement. The court handed her a 12-year prison sentence, with Colleen ordered to serve 2/3 of that behind bars before becoming eligible for release.
So 8
Once
years
a mother
behind?
and wife living a life of luxury, she now faces years locked away for a betrayal as cold as it was calculated.
Yeah, man, sometimes people just gotta learn how to let it go, man. Let it go. He cheated. Let it go. It's done. Just walk away with your sanity, your dignity, and your freedom.